The New Orleans Saints have caught fire. After that 0-4 start, they've now won 4 out of their last 5. They head out to Oakland on Sunday. They are installed as 4.5-point road favorites on BETDAQ. 54.5 is the total. The Raiders, what can you say? Same old Raiders, 3-6 on the year. They show signs of life. They're certainly not the worst team in the NFL, but very unreliable. It's a new regime in Oakland. Reggie McKenzie now in charge of the football operations out there. Dennis Allen in his first year as head coach. But in so many ways, it has been the same old Raiders. The most troubling way it's been the same old Raiders, at least from a Raiders fan's perspective, has been on defense. This Raiders defense has been bad for the last few seasons. And when Dennis Allen was brought in as coach, one of the hopes was that he was going to be able to immediately turn around that defense, or at least begin the turnaround. Dennis Allen, after all, does come from a defensive background, but haven't seen much evidence of it. The Raiders currently 32nd, dead last in the NFL in points allowed, allowing 31.6 points per game. And now you got the New Orleans Saints coming to town. That is not a good thing. This Saints offense, one of the best in the NFL once again. It really, ever since Drew Brees has been there, even though Sean Payton's not there calling the plays this season, the Saints offense has hardly skipped a beat. Now, they did get off to a slow start in the beginning of the season, like the entire Saints team did, but over the last few weeks, they've been running the ball a little more. They've restored some balance to that offense, and it's really worked out. We mentioned they've won 4 out of their last 5. They've covered the spread in all 4 of those wins. 4.5-point road favorites in Oakland. Tough not to lean towards New Orleans here, in my opinion. Now, I do understand the Raiders' angle because the Raiders are going to be able to move the ball in this football game. New Orleans, we talked about the Raiders' defense being last in the NFL in points allowed. Well, even though points allowed is the most important defensive statistic, the Saints are last in the NFL in about every other defensive stat, including total yards, pass yards allowed, next to last in rush yards allowed. The Saints are allowing 470 yards per game. That is about 60 more yards per game than any other defense in the NFL. They just can't stop anybody. And one thing Oakland can do is pass the football. Carson Palmer passing for about 290 yards per game. I've been impressed with Palmer throughout this season. I know he's had one game in particular on the road against Atlanta. The Raiders had that game in hand. The Falcons were undefeated at the time, and Palmer threw a critical interception in the fourth quarter of that game. So he hasn't been perfect, but by and large, he's been the best player on this offense. And he's going to be able to do some things against this New Orleans Saints defense. So I guess I understand a Raiders argument from that perspective. New Orleans has struggled on the road this season. They're only 1-3 on the road. But to me, the Saints have some momentum right now. Ever since Joe Vitt has come back as head coach, we mentioned they've started running the ball a little more. I don't know if Vitt has any influence on that. I know he's made a couple of statements to the press, sort of maybe he does have some influence on that. He's certainly led some people to believe that, even though Vitt, he's not a guy who was involved in the offense before. But for whatever reason, since Joe Vitt came back a couple of weeks ago, they have started running the ball more. I like the Saints right now, and I like them on the road, -4.5 against Oakland on Sunday. Now, do I like the Saints, even if they win this game, to get back to 5-5? Do I think the Saints are a good bet to make a playoff run in the NFC? Do I think they're going to really come back from that 0-4 start and sneak in as a wild card? I do not think so, because when you look at their schedule, after this game against Oakland on Sunday, the Saints' next 5 games, San Francisco, at Atlanta, at the New York Giants, Tampa Bay, at Dallas. They finish the season up with a relatively easy game at home against the Carolina Panthers, but to me, that's just too tough for the New Orleans Saints. I think they dug themselves too deep a hole. But I do expect them to beat the Raiders on the road this week. The 4.5 points makes me a little squeamish. I guess I feel a little bit better about Saints money line. But I think they'll probably cover the 4.5. I do lean towards New Orleans in this game on the road against the Oakland Raiders.